Politics podcast is brought to you as always by patreon.com/JURY. That is where you can support this very, very show. Go on over there. You not only get to support my this show, the Politics show, but also my One Mic show, Jerry, where I answer all of your personal relationship questions. Yesterday, in the last episode of the Jury podcast, I proposed that Valentine's Day for single people will be better when Golden Corral opens up a 24-hour booze-filled lock-in. I think it was one of the better shows that I've ever done, and I was very, very happy about it. So what do you say? You go ahead if you enjoy what you're seeing right now. You support it. Just kick in whatever you'd like. Also, coming up in April, we will be doing we're going to be doing a Jury in Your House tour. So you can go ahead and be a part of that if you would like. Check it out, huh? Head on over patreon.com/JURY. But enough of talking about how we do the show. What do you say we just do the damn thing?
Politics, 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 politics.
Are you ready for some politics? Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Politics podcast, the only podcast that covers politics as well as politics, including, of course, last but not least, politics. My name is Justin Robert Young. I am going to be your host for the day. You know, remember when I used to do this show 3 days a week. 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I might have to go back to it. Because I'm starting to feel like too much news is passing by for me to only do this 1 day a week. It just, when it rains, it pours, and I'll tell you what. If I were more of an entrepreneur than I am, more than just creating The Contender, the game of presidential debate. By the way, Hamilton mini expansion out this Friday. If I really wanted to make some coin, just a little bit of scrizzatch, here's what I would do. I would go ahead and just sell commemorative, fully first class knives for my liberal friends. Not beautiful knives, leather wrapped handle, gleaming blade. Maybe even a $5 add-on. I can get a little sharpening stone for you, right? One of them. Knives, not for cutting, not for hunting. Just symbolic, metaphorical knives. Huge knives. Because I'm just going to tell you this. Them motherfuckers are out right now. Shing! Twitter is hot. The media is hot. People believe that this Michael Flynn thing is going to be the beginning of the end. It is the first thread, 3 weeks in, that begins unraveling that low, as Rivers Cuomo sang to us, unravels the whole sweater. And indeed, it will be Donald Trump who walks away. Watch him unravel. He'll soon be naked. Lying on the floor. He's come undone by way of these Russian allegations. Because it seems as if it is coming fast and furious, doesn't it, folks? Indeed it does. Michael Flynn now resigned. Why? Well, that depends. That depends on who you believe and how you believe them. If you are to believe Donald Trump, by way of his spokesperson, Sean Aspicia, he resigned rather, in record time for a national security advisor because of eroding trust between himself and the president. More specifically, eroding trust between himself and Mike Pence. Old sixpence none the richer. This all stems back to a phone call that Michael Flynn made with the ambassador to Russia when there were apparently assurances made between Michael Flynn and official acting members of the Russian government that, hey, don't worry about these Obama sanctions, man. These Obama sanctions, I mean, come on, man. We ain't got to worry about these Obama sanctions, man. Don't worry about it. I'm trying to tell you to walk back in that Kremlin, chill them ninnies out, and wait for the Trump who should be coming directly. Oh, you sending the Trump? Oh, that make you feel good? This was something that became a bit of an issue a few weeks ago, and the Trump White House defended it. The newly installed Trump White House defended it before and after the inauguration, saying that Michael Flynn did not talk about the sanctions. He only talked about a future call that would be made between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump, and that all these issues would be discussed then. But what we are finding out now is indeed, Michael Flynn talked about them sanctions. And indeed, Donald Trump knew that Michael Flynn talked about those sanctions about a week and a half ago. And that the FBI probably knew about it. That same FBI run by James Comey. Sounds like a country song. That same FBI run by James Comey. They also knew about it. Allegedly. And this is apparently the U.S. had ears on the ambassador, which is why they knew for sure what was happening. So, what do we make of this? The more I read about Mike Flynn, the more it seems like he's kind of an asshole. And I don't mean that to say I'm making any kind of political judgment on him. It just seems that there's a lot of people around Michael Flynn before he became as politicized as he was that didn't seem to like him. And specifically, he had a bit of a contentious relationship with the CIA and the FBI when he was the head of the DIA, the Army's version of intelligence gathering. He then kind of rankled folks a little bit when he became as politically active as he did. Normally, military people don't like to become super politically active. And specifically, the way that Mike Flynn became politically active is something that would rankle military people. Because I'm going to let y'all in on a little wild generalization here, okay? A lot of people who are career military are kind of conservative. So if you know by the institution, and military organizations are generally ones that respect rules and order, right? You kind of have to if you want to be a military man. And in general, when you're all hanging out with your cool military bros, hey, you want to know what? You're kicking back, telling a Chelsea Clinton joke, lighting a cigar, talking about some conservative stuff. Just being a bunch of conservative bros. But the rule is, hey, don't go out there talking mad shit, because at some point we got to deal with Democrats to get funding. And for our own jollies, if we piss off liberals too much and it fucks with our money, it's a problem. So in general, just don't. From general to general, in general, don't be talking about politics. And don't be like, well, but I really believe in the conservative cause. We all do, homie. Calm down. So, when Michael Flynn goes out on the campaign trail and starts going full MAGA, 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 Trump train, woo, woo. And he's out there, man, I'll tell you what, I don't even know where anybody would find some of the footage of me doing the BitTorrent live coverage. But I had beef with Mike Flynn back at the convention because I think it was either the first night or the second night where he spoke, and holy crap, this guy could not keep the goddamn schedule. And he stepped out on that stage, and there was only the rowdy people up front that were there. And they all start chanting like, lock her up, lock her up. Now, mind you, this night is already like 30 minutes over time. It's like 45 minutes over time. They had already blown like all their major speakers way out of prime time. It was like bad, right? And I don't mean like the speeches were bad. You can make that judgment yourself. I mean that the stagecraft of it was bad. Because, we gotta, people go to sleep, dude. If you want to get people on here to talk about it. And also, like, for me personally, because, again, this is a one mic podcast where I just spill my ego all the way through your phone into your earbuds. I had already been on camera for like 5 hours at that point. And I was just like, come on, man. We don't need another 30 minutes of like, lock her up. We get it. Okay, the crowd's hot, baby. You don't need to soak it in. That's not for you, Mike. So when he's doing that apparently pissed off a bunch of people. So as we walk into this story, and by the story, I'm going to draw a circle around Michael Flynn's relationship with Russia, as well as specifically what he said to the ambassador. Let's understand two things that seem to me to be relevant to the story as well as fairly objectively true. Michael Flynn is a difficult person to deal with, and Michael Flynn is not well liked within the intelligence community. So now we get into the story as we know it. It seems, by the fact that he got fired, to be clear that he did say something he wasn't supposed to the Russian ambassador. Now, where I want people to be careful Not because I don't think it's true, but because if it is true, you need to be specific. Let me put it this way. If your goal or the happiest outcome for you would be for Donald Trump to be impeached or resigned on the back of this specific scandal, then you owe it to yourself. You owe it to yourself to take it slow. Don't get caught up in every little possible conspiracy theory. Don't get caught up in every little possible off-ramp. Just be easy about this, okay? Let it come to you. Because if it's there, it'll be there. If it's not, you don't want to over-pursue and make this something that it is not, because it damages the credibility for when the thing comes along that is. So, here is a scenario that I can imagine happening. Because the secondary element of this is the fact that now the news story is that Russian officials were in contact with people who worked within the Trump campaign during the campaign, which in and of itself is not tremendously weird unless there were very specific pieces of information passed between the two. So, okay. Chimera96 says, political scandals are crockpots, not flash fryers. Fucking brilliant. Bada bing, bada boom. Realist chatter in the room. How you doing? Okay, I'm going to guess. This is just me guessing what this story is. I think Mike Flynn's a wiener penis, and the Trump organization right now, the Trump White House, is intensely disorganized. You hear a lot of conversation about the Trump White House seeming like it is still in campaign mode, which obviously we kind of associate with they are on this kind of very forward-facing propaganda sort of thing. But what I think is probably more true about that is the idea that this is a campaign that replaced its leadership thrice. Once with Corey Lewandowski, once with Paul Manafort, and once with Steve Bannon and Kellyanne Conway. So when you talk about campaign mode, what I can only imagine, and I got peripheral chatter about when I was at the Republican convention and the Democratic convention, is that not only did the right hand not know what the left hand was doing within the Trump campaign, but it was playing that that slap battle where you have to you have your palms touching each other, and then one's got to slap the other one before it pulls away. That's what the left hand and the right hand was doing, right? And it seems like that's what's happening still. Combine that with the fact that it doesn't seem like Trump has made many friends within the CIA and FBI, aside from the New York office, which seems to be its own world. And intelligence communities, when threatened or pressed, tend to do the kind of things that we are seeing right now, which is leak information to the press, control the narrative, and provide strategic chaos for those that they don't like. Now, what I don't want this to sound like is that I'm saying that Michael Flynn didn't do anything wrong. I think he absolutely did something wrong. I think he absolutely tried to cover it up, which in and of itself is a scandal, and he got shit canned for it. Right now, I think the biggest way that you can tie Trump to this story is if A, he got on the phone directly with members of the Russian government during the campaign, and in those conversations to either him or somebody secondarily, there was direct and sensitive information passed either way, specifically, let's say, from an intelligence briefing that Donald Trump was getting, back to the Kremlin. That is the biggest possible scandal I feel like we could find in this needle in a haystack. If anybody else has a bigger scandal, let me know. Because if I'm just trying to sketching that out on my fantasy booking play sheet, it's going to be Bray retains at WrestleMania, Donald Trump impeached because he passed intelligence briefing information to Vladimir Putin directly. So that's where I think this is. I think that the Donald Trump White House is intensely disorganized. I think Flynn is a dick and got himself in hot water. Now, it bears mentioning that Flynn appears to think that he has not done anything wrong. In fact, this is his comment to the Daily Caller. In some cases, you're talking about stuff, he says he crossed no lines in his discussion with the Russian ambassador, but ultimately he was most concerned about the steady stream of leaks to reporters based on classified information. Quote, in some of these cases, you're talking about stuff that comes off classified systems and is given to a reporter. That's a crime, Flynn told the Daily Caller News Foundation investigative group during a telephone interview from his White House office on Monday. You call them leaks. It's a criminal act. This is a crime. This is not a wink and a nod. That's a great little segue for us to discuss, probably my favorite. This might be the biggest thing that Donald Trump and I have in common. Our favorite part of the story. The media. All right. I watched CNN yesterday, and you would have thought that, well, I'll just say this. I don't know how Brooke Baldwin was able to do her show and deliver the news so professionally while there was a functioning conga line going through the set. Because they were so excited and they just couldn't hide it. They were about to lose control, and I think they liked it. The big refrain was, oh, the president keeps talking about leaks, but leaks are what gave us this story. Which brings me to a larger point about the media cycle that we are in right now. Yesterday on Twitter, I made mention that of all the bombshell stuff, which I'm kind of using hyperbole there because I don't think everything's a bombshell, but it's certainly being reported in the tone of a bombshell. I hate the CNN stories the most. We went into the whole intelligence dossier thing a couple weeks ago, but I hate CNN's reporting because they tend to, and this is just in my opinion in the way that they are reported and written, lead the reader into a narrative as opposed to providing facts that construct one. So their story yesterday compared to the New York Times about the fact that members of the Trump campaign, according to unnamed intelligence sources, were in contact with members of the Russian government. To me, the New York Times story did a better job of establishing this is what they believe, this is what we were told, and this is the set of normalcy around such communication. The CNN story was, the next brick in the wall has been placed. The wall that we will tumble upon the Trump presidency. Kermit arms. And when it comes to that, I don't appreciate it. I don't think that it adds anything to the situation that we are in right now. I think it does worse. It does worse to where we are right now because I think it misleads an obviously very on-edge readership. Which brings me to an even more meta point. Watching on CNN, Maggie Haberman of the New York Times. She was talking about the public erosion of trust between Donald Trump and his populace. And what I want to do now is ask you guys a question. And you can please email in your answers to theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Do you view the media? In fact, actually, wait, you want to know what? I'm going to get a little bit more granular. Is there a media outlet that you feel represents you? Because let me tell you this. The media views themselves as your guardian. That is a part of the mythos. When you are out there on the beat reporting, they view themselves and their jobs as representing you. So my question is, do you feel that you are represented by any media outlet, and if so, who? I'm curious. I'm seeing a lot of no's in the chat room, and I think that's where there is a disconnect. And by the way, that's where things like Steve Bannon saying that the media is the opposition party that they want to attack, in a weird way, makes sense. Because if you do not feel represented by the media, any outlet, especially any of the major ones, the ones that Donald Trump attacks mercilessly, Post, Times, CNN, if you do not feel represented by them, then what is the cost of Donald Trump attacking them? Seemingly very little. I know it's the reason why Fox News is what they are, because they were running as the media opposition to the media. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? Obviously, there is there continues to be a development on this and related stories. By the way, a big shout out to the deputy here, who my link deputy, who has returned to give me all these leaks here. We had now legislation coming out that they want to abolish the EPA and the Department of Education. Kellyanne Conway. This is another thing that happened yesterday. Kellyanne Conway was, I guess, the White House was given guidance on Kellyanne Conway by the Department of Ethics, suggesting discipline for Mrs. Conway because she told America on Fox News Sunday to buy Ivanka Trump's stuff at Nordstrom's. I don't know exactly how much I give a shit about this story. I did see one thing, man. I'll tell you. Let me know if y'all saw this same video. It's kind of going viral on Facebook right now. There's this video like explaining Kellyanne Conway, explaining the tactics of Kellyanne Conway, explaining how Kellyanne Conway always seems to avoid the truth. And it breaks down in a very debate, yes, the Vox one. Using debate tactics, somebody asks a question, and Kellyanne Conway seizes on an element of that question and takes things wherever they want to go. Conway, it says. Oh, Jake Tapper, Chuck Todd, you just got Conwayed. I mean, except for the fact that this is literally every PR person ever. And anyone who's ever run for office. And I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's honest. I'm not saying that it informs people anymore. It's literally just the same exact thing that anyone who's been good at speaking to the media has done. Hey, you want to know what else was good about this? Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was amazing at this. Somebody would say, hey, Bill Clinton, why were you cigar banging an intern? Well, I think what you should really be talking about is everybody who's out of work right now that we're trying to put back to work. Oh, geez. Man, that's crazy. Wow, you great communicator, Bill. Kellyanne Conway does it very well because it's her goddamn job. I don't know. That one just bugged me. So what else do we got here? If there's anything else that people want, I mean, there's just so much news out here I don't know. I mean, here, let me just say this. This is my my big thing. Why Trump fans should worry. Why Trump fans should worry. I don't know if they necessarily need to worry about the Russian thing unless there really is a gigantic smoking gun here. But for right now, that's not the pressing thing. That might be true. I do not know if it is true. When it becomes true, then we can put that at the top of the list. Here's what is undoubtedly true right now. Right now. You cannot argue this. Nobody can argue this. Because during the campaign, when I was perusing all the Reddits and everything, whenever there was some puzzling, crazy, chaotic move out of the Trump campaign, what you would read on r/the_Donald was 4D chess. Everyone else is playing checkers. What we know right now is that the Trump White House and administration is very disorganized. And they don't necessarily like each other. And they are getting in the way of Donald Trump trying to put forward a very ambitious agenda. So if you are a fan of Trump, the biggest thing that you should be worrying about is the fact that this is disorganization that is eroding the effectiveness of the office. And if they do not get organized, then it will basically just be 4 years of the kind of stuff that we've seen. An ambitious executive order that's gotten rolled back by the courts because everybody wasn't on the same page. Constant leaks about each other. and people getting fired because somebody else wants their job. That's what happens in chaotic environments when the prize for firing the person in front of you is almost unlimited power. So if you are a fan of Donald Trump, that's what you should worry about. If you are not a fan of Donald Trump, you should hope that this lasts forever. You should hope that on one day, Kellyanne Conway is caught in the closet with Reince Priebus, and then the next day with Steve Bannon, and then they find out about it, and all of a sudden it's like we add layers of tension and drama, the likes of which no one has ever seen before. Meanwhile, Sean Spicer is up in there on the podium saying, man, whatever, bro. I hit it first. Like, that's what level of disorganization and chaos you want to be sown throughout that White House. Because it has made what was supposed to be, and he promised to voters, a very, 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 very effective, business-like, private sector level of efficiency experience into just a gigantic gang bang of nothing getting done. Let's go ahead and talk about what really matters. The North Korean presidential scandal. This, of course, brought to you by the one and only, our correspondent for all Korean presidential scandal news, T2T2, of course, coming to us live from Estonia. South Korean far right rises up to defend impeached president. North Korean. Did I say South Korean? South Korean. North Korean? South Korean. South Korean, not North Korean. Sorry. No, the North Korean scandal is that Kim Jong-un is like murdering his half-brothers. South Korean, the Korean scandal. Let's move on. He's still from Estonia, T2T2. So thank you, T2T2. South Korean far right rises up to defend impeached president. What we have here in VOA News is a gigantic banner, "Make Korea with America Great Again," showing the impeached president and Donald Trump photoshopped together over a huge crowd. Here is the story from Seoul. A new South Korean conservative far-right coalition is forming to fight against what they say is the illegal impeachment of the duly elected president Park Geun-hye by the lying media and the pro-North Korean establishment elites. Elite, elite, elite. The pro-Park conservatives have been slow to organize in the wake of a presidential corruption scandal that erupted in October of last year. Maybe our attempts to rescue the president are too late, or a little bit late. Why? Because the whole thing was unexpected, says Cool Hong Kim. Man, sometimes having nothing's a pretty cool hong. An associate professor at the Presbyterian College and Theological Seminary in Seoul, who has become a leader of the new conservative group that has yet to become a formal organization. Of course, to remind everybody what's happening if you are a new listener, President Park was brought down by allegations that she colluded with or was manipulated by her longtime friend Choi Soon-sil, along with some close presidential aides, to force Korean conglomerates to donate nearly $65 million to two dubious foundations. Choi reportedly benefited from lucrative side contracts to companies owned by herself and her friends. There were also other charges that outraged the public. Yada, yada, yada. God, I could read about this forever. I love it. I love it so much. Are she going to run again? That's what I want to know. I want to know if she's going to run again. All right, what else do we have here? What else do we have here on our I guess we're already pretty long on time. We can get into this one. Jason Chaffetz, who came into a town hall. Nothing gets me in trouble. Nothing gets me in trouble like when I say this, but I swear to God, if it stops happening, I'll stop say it. Jason Chaffetz walked into a town hall to talk about health care, and he got screamed and yelled and booed at. Everybody gets mad when I say that this feels like 8 years ago. Everybody gets mad when I say that this feels like 8 years ago because people are getting upset about executive orders. People get mad. But come on, man. Doesn't this feel like 8 years ago when there were politicians in front of crowds talking about health care and getting yelled at and booed, and the response was, oh, they're not real, they're paid. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to do it. I'm not trying to point it out, but come on, man. Come on. You're killing me here. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to get into too much of it, but, you know. Also, apparently, Kellyanne Conway, Mika Brzezinski doesn't want her to be on Morning Joe anymore. Now it's a big thing about whether or not they want her on the TV. Fine. Good. I hope they have her or don't have her forever. All right. When I point out these things that feel similar, I'm not saying that they're the exact same thing. I am in no way saying the exact same thing. And if we want to get into the absolute details of how they're different, we can. I just don't find that very interesting. What I do find interesting is that from the outside, it feels like there is just a kind of 180-degree flip on some of the things that are happening. I'm not saying that they're the same thing. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. Tell you what, let's relax a little bit. Let's relax a little bit, huh? Maybe kick back. Maybe take a little trip. What do you say we just go ahead and let's double our pleasure, huh? Double our pleasure. Double our fun, because this is a Two Polls.
Get on the floor if you got that booty.
How about direction of the country? Or no, sorry, though. This is just Donald Trump. Donald Trump's approval rating. Both of them taken from February 12th to February 14th. One by The Economist and YouGov, and one by Rasmussen Reports. Let's start with The Economist YouGov. 1,100 registered voters. They say that Donald Trump is 46% approved of, 49% disapproved. That leaves him with a -3 approval rating. Meanwhile, Rasmussen Reports, with 1,500 likely voters, say that 47% disapprove and 53% approve. That's a 6% approval rating.
Get on the floor if you got that booty.
Here we go. I'll tell you what. These pole dances aren't going to be as exciting until we get some races. We need some races. We need some races up in this. Of course, you can email me, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Again, that is theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Sean writes in, and he gives me a little note. Please read this in your best Bill Maher voice. So I'm going to try. To read it in that. I keep seeing a lot of boycotts on companies that sell Trump products. The latest is Wegmans in Virginia selling Trump wine. Us liberals are getting crazy. These boycotts are stupid. I boycott Hobby Lobby because they deny women access to medical products. Granted, I never went to Hobby Lobby before the SCOTUS ruling. We liberals can keep licking our wounds, but it's counterproductive to boycott stores that sell Trump brand products. This is just so frustrating. This, and then he says here, this is what Bill Maher harps on weeks in and weeks out. It's a political correctness run amok. You hit on this when talking about Milo. Yeah, I have some kind of more complicated feelings about political correctness because I do think that there's a fair amount of empathy that is lost when we just throw a bunch of political correctness against the wall and call it evil. I also think that there is such a thing as just being a dick. And if you're being a dick, that kind of goes beyond whether or not the actual words of what you said should be used or not. But I don't know. Bill Maher kind of bothers me on a fundamental level, although I think he's very, very smart. But I think he's right here. I think that at the end of the day, it's you can go out to a Hobby Lobby parking lot and raise a sign if you want, but I don't exactly know how well it does. Jessica writes, I've decided that if Trump can be president, then I can run for office too. Maybe not for president, but what's wrong with an atheist dog catcher? I'm tired of not being represented as an atheist and a veteran and a woman who happens to be a bisexual, married, stay-at-home mom with kids. What can I expect when I run locally under a severe don't be a dick policy? No experience and just months of door-to-door trespassing violations as advertising. Do you want to be my press secretary for local dog catcher? Since tweeting is on the table, how many times an hour should I tweet about local dog owners? Once a bathroom break? What do you think? You really inspired me to run because really, F it. I think you should run. I would encourage everybody who listens to this podcast, if they have the urge to run. I think the idea of getting to know how the sausage is made is very important. I don't know exactly how facetious you're being here in terms of the dog catcher thing, but, I think running for local council, I think it's probably a healthy idea. If I didn't already have such a busy schedule, I should run. I should run for city council here in Oakland and then just resign immediately. That'll be my platform. I'm literally just doing this for the experience. Logan writes, I'm writing to offer some thoughts on your discussion of executive orders in the last 2 episodes. A listener, Hugh I think his name was, wrote in and accused you of being a Hitler apologist because you compared the response to Trump's executive orders to the response that Obama got. I think that you may or may not have gone deep enough into the issue. In both episodes, you said that you heard similar things 8 years ago, but you didn't actually connect the two. As a Texas resident, I can tell you that people here called Obama a communist, socialist, racist dictator, exactly the same thing that Hugh accused Trump of being. Both sides interpret their opponent's actions as extreme overreach and a threat to their rights. You are usually excellent at breaking things down in a neutral way, and I have a theory as to why you caught heat from someone on this in previous times. I think that in your pursuit to be as neutral as possible, you overextend to the right sometimes to outweigh what I perceive to be your majority liberal audience. I feel like you just threw out the executive order comments in a half-shell attempt at counteracting the discourse you see in the community. I know being completely neutral is essentially impossible, but you've come the closest by far out of all the content that I read and listen to. I may have completely missed the mark, but I think I'd write in anyway. Keep up the excellent work. So this is an interesting idea, Logan. Thank you so much for writing in. I will say this, that part of my experience in my bygone life in journalism was that whenever I felt too comfortable was when I effed up. Whenever I felt too sure of the facts is when I effed up. Whenever I was convinced, and this is the worst, this is what makes my skin crawl, too positive of a narrative is when I effed up. So I have a natural tendency that I would at this point in my life probably call hardwired to try to see from every other angle to attack my position. Because to me, it's not necessarily because I have some big, beautiful idea of idealistic truth. It's that I don't want to be embarrassed. I want to avoid embarrassment very selfishly. And for me, my natural self-defense mechanism is to say, I would rather be defending the position against what my natural inclination is until the dying breath of the opposition than to be on the side that I'm already on saying, well, obviously, this is true, this is true, this is true. And I'm sure there is a little bit of my own selfish, like, nobility complex to the idea that, like, well, of course, you know, like, well, I want to defend all sides. But that just is. So if, like basically, I'd rather be exactly who I am. Somebody who defends the actions of conservatives or Donald Trump, who is a fairly liberal person living in probably the most liberal area in the world, and enjoying it and having a majority of liberal friends. Like, I would just rather do that, because sometimes I listen to my friends on the left and I'm just like, oh, man, but what if it's wrong? But what if it's wrong? Then everyone's going to be so embarrassed. I'm going to be so embarrassed too. Ryan writes, pro wrestling and politics have become the same thing. I'm a puff pass. Take it easy on that vape pen libertarian for the record. But this year, while Trump earned big news stories and became the heel red state government haters couldn't help but love in the Senate, another heel has risen to power. The Trump rise was akin to Stone Cold Steve Austin saying how it is with a little filtration, or telling how it is with little filtration. However, Nancy Pelosi is the Rock. Her best moments aren't angry ramblings. She likes to catch somebody with a question and make them look like a Rudy Poo candy ass jabroni by calling them out. And then social media gets hot sharing the videos of her sick burns. Which brings me to the Republican Party, voting essentially to shut her the hell up. I think he's also not talking about Nancy Pelosi, but Elizabeth Warren, but let's just keep moving on. Why wouldn't they? She's on the opposite team, and the only way to get another one of those damn viral videos is to just keep her from talking. Now, nobody will talk about her. Ha, 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 ha. Republicans win. Oops. So what you're saying, Ryan, is that Elizabeth Warren checked Mitch McConnell into the SmackDown Hotel on the corner of Rudy Poo Drive and Know Your Role Boulevard? Skylar writes, so I heard on TMS this week that you felt that you might enjoy the fact, the headline was, my dad made a Twitter account just to tweet about Trump. He goes on, so I heard on TMS this week that you felt that you might enjoy the fact that he made a Twitter account explicitly so he could respond to and about Trump. This is being a guy who deleted his Facebook 2 years ago and didn't even do social media before then. He's Farken Barger, if you want to check it out. FARKENBARGER. If you want to read the ramblings of a man who created a Twitter account after never having social media just so he can tweet about Trump. Be nice, even if you disagree with him. He's new to Twitter. Come on. Welcome into our little family. And now for our angry email of the week. Xenophrenia writes, I started listening to your politics podcast because I liked your even-handed approach, but since the fascist F-stick, yes, I'm biased on the side of facts and reality. 1, you've been kissing the ass of those swallowing lies by regurgitating them and becoming neutral instead of objective. How is it that you don't understand the context around what Kellyanne and Spicer have done and think that with all the lies that have been told by her and everyone else associated with this campaign that she meant anything but alternative facts? There wasn't any forgetting set of involved. She has a very sordid history of doublespeak, or are you ignoring that so as not to piss off the right? And beside, there's no such thing as an alternative set of facts. One last thing about the executive orders. The ones the right set themselves on fire about that Obama did helped people. The ones that the left are screaming about that Trump is doing are going to kill people. There's a difference. One side wants those people to die, and the other side wants all people to live. Objective is not neutral. Facts matter. But apparently, when you aren't afraid to piss off parts of your audience by using them. That's the angry email of the week. If you get angry at me, you can send in the angry email of the week, and I'll do my best to yell at myself in your words. So please send them in. theyoungamerican@gmail.com. I would love to get this sponsored. If somebody's got like a product or something, I would love to just sell it for like $200. $200. I'll sponsor it for a month. It'd be the angry email of the week. theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Of course, if you would like to email us, that is the email address. One more time for everybody who didn't catch it, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Of course, you can buy The Contender, thecontender.us. Hamilton expansion, the Hamilton mini expansion goes on sale this Friday. So make sure that you are on our mailing list. Go ahead and get on that mailing list by going to thecontender.us. That is thecontender.us. Follow me at Justin R. Young everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. Yell at me there. Yell at me about my political opinions on Snapchat. I love interacting with people on there. And, of course, you can download all of our archived episodes at bonerwars.com.
Politics, 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 politics.
Of course, some shows talk about politics. Others talk about politics. But this right here, oh yeah, it's the only one that talks about all three. We will see you guys next week.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.